Hey you guys, it's MJ from All to Love. This morning I've woken up with actual real energy after I slept pretty much all day yesterday and all night. I forced myself to lay down because I had a few worrying symptoms regarding my immune system and that drive across Europe that I did and just general life. And this morning on All to Love Instagram, I really wanted to share a little bit about All to Love and more about my journey, more about my story. So I'm leaving the tarot aside, and some of you might have seen that I set up an All to Love TV specific Instagram account, and I think I'm going to dedicate that account to the tarot, and I'm going to continue to expand the messages here around All to Love as an online brand. The tag being sustainability, spirituality, and freedom. And ultimately where it comes from within myself, and as the brand expands, what the intention is. And it says it in the tags, my friends, and in the name of the brand. Truly, in my heart and in my soul, All to Love is about all of humanity moving to a vibration of love and compassion, right? And as this intention grows, what I'm observing is the disparity on the globe triggering more and more mass awakening in people that are kind of waking up to the insanity of a world driven by greed and profit and materiality, and people feeling again, people beginning to feel their heart space. Now, ultimately, in my deductionary process, in my sort of almost 20-year awakening process and the depth of my study and research around spiritual text, spirituality, metaphysics, esoteric, occult. Spirituality to me really just means that we're connected to the heart, that we feel. That's it. We feel the world around us. We feel connected to the creatures. We feel connected to the plants. We feel connected to one another. Now, empaths are people that from birth had that connection. They couldn't deny it. And ultimately, still on this planet, empaths are more rare. I talk a lot about this on the All to Love TV YouTube channel, that more and more of us talk about the kind of empath and narcissistic relationship. And yet, to me, I don't really like labels, because I feel that any kind of label is potentially limiting, because I truly believe that we are always transforming and changing as a human being. But empathy at its depth is the fact that you can't deny the fact that you feel what other people feel. And all empaths have maybe slightly different points of attraction. Some empaths would be more connected to nature. Some empaths would be more connected to the creatures and the animals. Some empaths would feel different layers of other people's energetic densities. That's what I call it in the Fearless Life Guide. Now, the Fearless Life Guide is really my life's work in text, and it comes from sitting A Course in Miracles, from being someone who's been meditating for over 10 years and teaching meditation, and doing yoga most of her life. Like, I started doing yoga when I was 13 years old. And then basically by the time I hit puberty, that's when I was kind of fucked by the system, as it were. Woo! But all of us have our karma, you could say. All of us have our density and or our distortion that we need to work with, which is why I bang on a lot about self-responsibility and the importance of self-responsibility when it comes to truly manifesting a life that you desire, and not just manifesting via the veil of privilege and false spirituality, which to me has to do with control and domination, and it's like another veil, essentially. So it's still people parading around with a fairly large ego, wanting to feel powerful, wanting to feel like they can control and dominate people, versus just living simply and living from the heart. And for me, really, that's all why I started yoga, and that's all why I started this brand, was that I like just so deeply and purely was like, why don't people care about one another? Like, why aren't people trying to sort out the issues? Why aren't people... And then any of you guys who resonate with me, you'll get it. It's like, so then at some point, the turning point is like, well, then I'm going to live in my right action. I'm going to live in divine right action. And that's really the 4 pillars of the Be the Change online courses. So about 2.5 years ago, Katie Finch, who's a member of Team Love, came to one of my yoga retreats in Morocco, and she ended up transforming her life. And by us working together, she was shifting and awakening really, really fast, and started to see, she was already a vegan, already on her yoga journey. I was just somebody who kind of like, it, I guess, inspired her to like take the leap properly. And then when she saw all the kind of waste and plastic issues, we went to Indonesia together to pioneer and work on different things with Ultra Love, including an investor and merchandise and all this. And she started going zero waste, and then it was like, bing, for both of us. I was like, let's start this Be the Change online courses. And then it lined up perfectly with the sustainability, spirituality, and freedom. And I was busy doing my own patterns and living life at the time, but I was like, Katie, write it down. Write down your process. Write down how you're going to transition from living a normal consumerist lifestyle to being more conscious. And essentially, and the way she would say was living low waste or as close to zero waste as possible. So together, we produced and created Zenful Zero Waste, which is led by Katie. She's your guide. So I did all the filming and editing, and she did the writing. And then our other team member, Frances Sullivan, she edited all the material. And we will continue to evolve these courses for sure. And I'm, in the next few months, going to be going into the creation production of Unplug for Freedom. Now, Unplug features as a pillar, a foundational pillar in the Fearless Life Guide, because that's another thing that I unplugged from mainstream media roughly 10 years ago, and have been increasingly unplugged, for the last 5 or 6 years. And then the other 2 are Spirituality Simplified, which is, again, just me having had these spiritual awakenings when I was 19 years old, and then essentially living this sort of conscious, quasi-conscious, like aware life, but in the system, as it were, like trying to get jobs and trying to be aware and trying to be a good person, but always ending up kind of like, I don't know, messing around too much with drugs and alcohol, or getting involved in toxic relationships because I wasn't in my integrity. I wasn't living my authenticity, because a lot of times I felt like an alien. I felt like, for some reason, being a loving and compassionate person, people are just like, who do you think you are? Like, I just got a lot of kickback from it seemed. And yet I couldn't help but like continue to go within. And I wrote and I journaled and I cried a lot alone. And, and eventually the yoga journey took over, and the yoga journey was ultimately like a real depth of healing. I worked with healers. I worked with mentors, coaches. I've been vegetarian most of my life since I was 12 years old, and vegan quite kind of dominantly for the last 6 or 7, 6-ish really. And I was vegan on and off throughout that kind of 25-year spell, because I never really liked eggs, and I knew deep down, I think, that like cow's milk and dairy really wasn't good for my body. But I also hated myself, so I was in a lot of toxic patterns when it came to food and drugs and alcohol and abuse cycles, with, my own self-inflicted abuse. And then more recently was like entangling codependent, emotionally abusive, mentally abusive relationship with other. And as I sort of rise into greater clarity, I just want to share more, because I'm aware of the increasing suffering on the planet, and then the increasing, and then a polarity of that actually stimulating greater awakening in the human population. Because right now, truly our call is to return to unity from the heart and spirit. So the other 2 courses are Spirituality Simplified, which I was guided to create in Bali, and the other one is All to Vegan Love. So that's going to wrap up my share for today, you guys. I really, really appreciate you being here and sharing the message with as many people as possible. Ulta Love and us New Paradigm businesses, this is not about corporate greed. This is not about me and my ego at all. This is truly, truly in service to humanity, the whole global paradigm shift. I love you. Wishing you a beautiful day. And don't forget to check out your daily reading on Ulta Love TV. Peace.